Welcome, everybody. I'm Nancy Bandel, Chairperson of the Nescoin Citizen Advisory Committee, and I'm calling this urgent board meeting to order at 1:05 p.m. on July 15th. I certify a quorum. I think just about our entire board is here. I'd like to have introductions and any conflict of interest statements. So again, I'm Nancy Bandel. I may have a slight conflict this time, first time ever, but regarding some of the detailed recommendations for mitigation, but not too much. I was very impressed with the plan. Um, I'm just going to call on the executive board members so that you're not all speaking at once. Chris Salkowski.
Yes. Hi, Chris Salkowski, treasurer, no conflict.
Thank you, Candace.
Candace Miller, secretary, no conflicts.
Great. Rand.
Rand Cook, chair of the Nescoin Community Plans Steering Subcommittee, no conflict.
Thank you. A mouthful. Michael.
Michael Beachley, parliamentarian, no conflicts.
Thank you, Susan.
Susan Schomburg, Outreach Task Force Chair, no conflict.
Great, thank you. And I'd like to introduce and thank very much Randy Thorpe, the Tillamook County Director of Emergency Management, for joining us today. Randy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Randy Thorpe. I'm the County Emergency Management Director, Department of 1, and I'm happy to be here and see and look at what types of concerns and issues that you have and see how we can address those in both the plan and also with county commissioners.
We really appreciate that, Randy. Thanks so much.
Hey, Nancy, this is Alex. You didn't call on me, but I am here and have.
Sorry. Thank you, Alex. How could I forget
Clark,
you, our illustrious vice chair? Thank you, Alex. And no conflicts. Thank you. And David Wells, who's the project manager for this wildfire plan. Would you like to introduce yourself, Dave? Thank you again for being here too.
Yeah, howdy. My name is Dave Wells, and I am the project manager for the Tillamook Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And today, if you have questions about how it was developed and some of the technical questions, be happy to help you with that. Anyway, just that's be my role here potentially there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And then I'm going to ask our guests here today to please introduce yourselves. Barbara.
Hello, I'm Barbara Triplett, and I can't figure out why I'm appearing upside down, so I just will be you'll just see a picture of Proposal Rock and the low tide. I had a chance to review the documents, and I have some comments to make at the end. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And Barbara, you're giving us a lovely picture to look at, even if it's not your lovely face. So thank you. And then there's a name, Julie Russell. Is that who's? You're muted, Julie.
There she is.
Anyway, we'll just say hello. You're welcome to speak. Gary Billingsley, our former secretary.
Hi, Gary Billingsley. I'm a resident and board member of the South Tillamook County Emergency Volunteer Corps. So kind of have an interest in the fire danger risks here in Nescoin.
Great, thank you, Gary. And Brenda Freshman.
Hi, I'm Brenda, property owner in Nescoin. I saw today's agenda and I was interested in the topic, so I thought I'd tune in.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this is an executive board meeting, but we really are pleased that community members the NCAC members are here. And so it's going to be a little more relaxed. And so please feel free to raise your hand and comment. So the thing that's easiest, before I forget, I'm appointing Susan Schomburg to take minutes. I'll help her. So thank you, Susan. So if anyone has any comments along the way, please go into the chat or raise your hand in the chat or put in the chat that you would like to make a comment. And then we'll call on you because sometimes when we're sharing the screen, we can't see that you want to make a comment, if that makes sense. So today I'm going to just go to the agenda. And because it's an urgent meeting, or if it were a special meeting, we can only talk about the items that are on the agenda, which today is this plan, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. There's a link to the documents up at the top, but there's also, when you signed into the event, there's a link to our meeting folder. And I did just recently put in a document that's a drafty draft of a letter that would be our comments that we'll be talking about today. And that letter is inevitably going to be altered depending on, what we all decide after meeting today. I realize the timeline is extremely short, which is actually one of the things that we'd like to comment on, whether we can get that extended. But also just very briefly go through the plan. We're not going to have time to do a lot about it, but at the end, I think if we're ready, the board can take a vote on whether we want to adopt an amended version of this letter to send forward, or whether we think we may need to have a membership meeting. The two items that we're going to be suggesting at this point on the plan are things that have been approved by the membership before. I mean, one is about fireworks, adding fireworks to the plan. And the other is to extend the length of the public comment period, which I think our members are always in favor of. Anything else, I think we would have to take it to the membership. So are there any comments on the agenda?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. So this is the draft. If you have to look at it, we will go through this in some detail, but for now, I'm not going to share that. I'm going to go to stop sharing on this and go to the plan. Actually, I'm going to go. Hopefully I can do this. Plan is amazing. How many of you had a chance to take a look at it? Can everybody see this? So when you go to the link, it takes you here. There are documents, there are maps. The maps are, I think, the best I've ever seen for our area. But the plan in the documents section has the main document, which is well worth reading. And then it's got Appendix A, which talks about the risk levels of each of the different communities. And they've broken the communities into fairly small bites. And so the Nescoin area has three. One is the Nescoin itself, Slap Creek Road, and then the hills. I remember off of my head. But anyway, that all affect Nescoin. They are rated as very high or extreme. Slap Creek Road is one of the two extreme ratings for wildfire risk, and the Nescoin and the other area east of 101 are both very high risk. And I'm going to go through that in a moment. Appendix B goes through recommendations, risks and recommendations for each of the areas in terms of what people can do to what the hazards exist in their homes and what they can do to mitigate their homes and yards for fireworks. And Appendix C is the methodology. If you're wondering how they came up with all of this risk statements and methodology for the plan, it's in Appendix C. Appendix D is very, very specific, detailed recommendations for mitigation by area. So because we're at the south end of the county, our recommendations are down at the bottom. But it's extremely detailed. And then there's a comment form. And I'd like to comment on the comment form when we get a little further. But in terms of the organization, that's kind of how it's structured. It's very well organized and detailed. It's got a table of contents where you can get to all the different areas easily, including the general recommendations, and then the appendices are separate. So I understand it was funded largely through a grant from the fire marshal, the state fire marshal. And I probably should turn this over to Director Thorpe to kind of talk about this a little bit, but using some consultants that have been working, I believe, since last August. So this is kind of a brief overview. The maps, again, are amazing. If you go to pages 35 and 36, which I think we put in our email blast and that I've communicated to you, there's some really interesting maps here. So we've published a fireworks risk chart in our last 2 email blasts that Chris Lady had sent us. But this shows everything in a map of Tillamook County and the risk. And if you look, we are red. There are some red areas elsewhere, but we are all red down here. And so it really brings it out on how disparate the risks are in the county. And here, the hills of Neskowin, Hot Creek Hills, excuse me, next to Neskowin itself and Slab Creek Road are there. And the methodology of how these are determined is in there. So the main area, of course, is Neskowin itself. And then the Hot Creek Hills area across from the freeway. It would have been nice to have all this information when we were dealing with our fireworks enforcement. So it really speaks to how we've been able to say it's risky, but it's really quite concerning when we actually see this. And very well done. That map is impressive. So again, it does also list. Looks like it took me to a different tab and trying to see everything here. Okay, so, and then it's got the methodology of how this was done and then more detail in Appendix C. And then it shows again in order of risk, the different areas. So we are right up here in very high risk areas. So, but the whole document is well worth reading. The Appendix A goes into the ignitability analysis, which is an interesting term. And again, Neskowin area is down at the bottom. And it's like 81 through. It's like 82. Yeah, it's this way down here. Sorry if I'm spinning. But these pages are really important. So here on page 82, we have an overview of Neskowin and what the factors are for the risk factors. Can everybody see this? Thank you. And then it goes into a description of what's happening in Neskowin. So each of the communities have a page like with the map and the key areas, and then one page of the description. So I'm not going to take time to read all this, but it does really capture what our area is. And then the next one is the Hot Creek Hills area, similar format. And then Slab Creek Road, which ran, I'm sure you've looked at it, but it's extreme. And, egress routes are tough. That's true in Neskowin too. One of the areas that they use to assess risk is to look at any egress problems and along with vegetation and all sorts of things. So I think that's worth reading. And then over here on Appendix D, again, it goes by community, and we're down at again toward the end, but it goes into it'll actually show the roads that they're proposing having mitigation. Throughout all the different areas. So we're down in the Tillamook area, but you can actually go down and see in the like here, South Beach roadside treatment. There's detailed information about what to do, who's responsible for it, and when it should be done. Slab Creek Road, same thing. So we kind of have to hunt for some of these, but a lot of detail on what needs to be done. So I'm going to stop this now and turn it over to Randy to talk a little bit about the process and what the plan does and doesn't do, the goals of the plan. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Randy. Yeah, what the goals of the plan are, because one thing I had understood when I talked with Dave Wells, who was gracious to talk with me a couple of times, was that things that are coming out of the plan could help us qualify for grants for different kinds of mitigation, including possibly fireworks if that gets into the plan. So Randy, could you give us please a brief overview?
I can start a little bit about my end of it and how that got started, and I can turn some time back over to Dave to try to talk about it, because he's been the one that's been doing the management basically of the plan itself. And with this is that the plan is basically through the fire marshal's office, state fire marshal's office. They require that every county have a community wildfire protection plan to address areas of concern within their county, and also go over some mitigation opportunities that they have. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar, but the county a couple of years ago did a hazard mitigation plan for the entire county, and that's where they went through and identified areas of all types of hazards, just not fire, but slides, flooding, earthquakes, everything, that type of different types of natural hazards that happen, and mitigation that we can do. And that's kind of what this plan is to do there, but they're looking more at the communities in wildland fire and looking and identifying areas of high risk. A lot of those areas, like I say, are high risk due to the fuels, and also a lot of it's due to the roads, because you saw that a lot of them, the roads aren't wide enough. There's no turnarounds for fire trucks, things like that. There's no water supplies. Hydrants are too far away, that type of thing. And so that's a lot of what they look at is in the different areas. That's why they broke them up into these different communities to just start to identify different areas. And like I say, down in the Nesquin area, you look at a lot of it is just doing some roadside vegetation, which you see quite a bit of now with ODOT and other people where they're out mulching, and widening basically the road, which just gives a wider break, with that road used as a fire break, and reducing fuels right along the roadways. Then also you start looking at areas to where there's not a turnaround. Fire truck can get in there, but it can't turn around and get back out. So that's also looks at, how do we solve that? And the egress issues. And that's a tough one, because if it's one way in and one way out, pretty expensive to come up with a second way out thing. And so again, that's just identifying a lot of those areas with that. This plan was entirely funded by a grant from the State Fire Marshal's office that the county secured last year, and then we went ahead and put out for bids to there's quite a few different companies that do these types of plans, and we picked what we thought was the best company out there with Bindle. We also were able to secure enough money with that grant to hire a full-time project manager, which would be Dave Wells, which basically freed up all my time not to write herd and to help with that. Basically, the plan is written. It's the two organizations that this plan is really written for is our Fire Defense Board, which includes all seven fire districts that are within the county, and also Oregon Department of Forestry. Those are the two real agencies that this plan is geared towards. The county is also a signature to that plan just because it's within their county. But the plan is really, and that's why our fire chiefs had a lot of input into this. And Dave can talk more about that. They had quite a bit of input into this plan, and so did Oregon Department of Forestry, which the major forested landowner other than private landowner here in the county. So it's really it's those two entities plan, and the county is just a signature into that plan because it's within our county, and so we do have input into it and also basically hold that plan. And this plan will also become an annex or a part of our countywide natural hazard mitigation plan. And so it's not really a standalone plan. It becomes part of that plan because that will address the community wildfire issues that we need. And a lot of this is that they don't really go into recommending policies and procedures. That's a lot of, that goes back to whether that be, the city that has to come up with separate ordinances and enforcements of like, are they going to require you to use asphalt shingles? Are they going to require you to, clear so much around from your home? Things like that. That's all left up. The recommendations are for the homeowner to do it themselves, but there's not saying the county or the city needs to adopt these rules and regulations. That again is going to be left up to the county commission to do it for the county areas, working through our community development to come up with changing of zoning and those types of things. And so the plan doesn't really want to tell people what to do. It's just a lot of recommendations. And if people have concerns, that's where they can go in, just like what they did with the fireworks countywide. If you remember a few, right before the fire season started, Sheriff Brown presented for the county to adopt an issue on the fireworks, and also giving the sheriff's department more authority and what they can and can't do, and the penalties if they get people caught with illegal fireworks. And so that's kind of how that came about, is that and that's really the right way to do that, to come up with those types of ordinances to do that. And that's where the pressure can be put on county commissioners to come up in the unincorporated areas saying, we want to make sure we have a ban on all fireworks, and we want to make sure that there's the sheriff's department is given the authority to do that type of enforcement, and what types of penalties that they can do for people that are having that type of an issue. Again, that is Nestwin's not the only community. I mean, that fireworks is basically countywide is a problem, and it's not just really any community. And so that's really kind of a countywide thing, that how are we going to deal with that type of issues with fireworks? And again, then the problem you have is, how do you enforce it? There's only so many people, and if you look at Nestwin, there's one or two deputies for the whole South County, and so then you have that issue of enforcement, and then you have, how do they know what's happening? And somebody's got to report the illegal works, to the sheriff's department, and they have to respond out. And, and so there's a lot of things there, but it is definitely an issue, countywide, well, statewide, really. And it's becoming more and more because people are getting, they don't really care much about it. I mean, I live in a community where fireworks are prohibited, but man, you should have seen what happened during the 4th of July weekend. It was just like, okay, no one cares about it. And so again, then you have that problem of, how do we do that? And I don't know how it would fit in to the community wildfire plan, because I've been checking, with the state fire marshal and a few other people on how those types of recommendations should go into that plan and how to address them. And a lot of it is that really the best way is to, again, with your recommendations you have, I would definitely get on, like with the board briefings that the county commissioners have every Wednesday, like today at 2:00, and present your concerns that you have at that board briefing, to make sure that the county commissioners are aware of your concerns in your area. And that is a perfect opportunity for you to present and to really argue your case about something needs to be done. We need to change some policies or procedures in the county and that sort of thing. So that's a really good opportunity for you to do, to go for the county, like say in a board briefing, because that's what that briefing is for, is to make sure that the commissioners are aware. And I don't know if you've ever been or seen one of those, but it's a good opportunity to make your feelings known. And as a group, you're pretty powerful. It's more than just a citizen going in there. And so I would definitely recommend that you do that. You really, go forward with the county commissioners to push forward your concerns with your issues with the illegal fireworks. And you tie it right back to the community wildfire plan that says, look, we're in a high risk area and we've got to do something about this. And how best can we do this and push that? So again, I think that's what I would like to see too is to put into the plan, county-wide, that this is also an issue, and maybe make some recommendations on how that can be addressed with that. As far as funding, I don't really know if funding can be used for any type of enforcement and or policy changing or what to use that. Most of what I've seen in the past is the funding that comes in is to help fund those mitigation recommendations. I guess, if a mitigation recommendation is to change the county policies and procedures on on fireworks, then, I don't know. That's just something that's not really been in there, but it doesn't mean that we can't have something, and address that in the plan. And so, again, I think, with what you have is I think we still need to present that up. And then, because the people that are also reviewing this is the state fire marshal's office. And they're also the ones that can help with, whether that, how to incorporate something like that into the plan, because they're the ones that work with the county planning on coming up with different policies and procedures for homeowners, and building permits and regulations on that. Is the fire marshal, of course, because they're in there and they look at it, on that aspect too, to say, we have to require this, and this. So the fire marshal's office again is another loop on what can they do, statewide, to come up with maybe some changes to do with it's just not illegal fireworks, it's fireworks as a whole. And I see your concern. I see bans on fireworks, and yet I see cities and communities having people come in and sell them and giving them permits to sell the fireworks that they should be being put off. And so I'm with you. There's something really, it's not consistent. Why does the county ban fireworks and then give permits out to these fireworks stands on the corner, that are selling fireworks that they can't shoot off? It's so, again, your concerns, I think, are really legitimate, and it's just, where's a really good place to do that? And I think, like you say, you write up those and we send them through, and then that way the fire marshal's office is also working with this. The fire defense board will be meeting this Thursday, and they can look at how they think that those concerns could be put into it. And then also the company that's doing it, because they've done plans for, Dave can correct me, for quite a few of the counties around us. Washington County, they've done one from them. They did one up in Pacific County, just over the border in Washington. They've done a couple others over in, I think, Deschutes and Clackamas, and a few of the other counties. So they've done quite a few of these plans for not just, just us. They've done it for quite a few counties within this state. And so they're pretty familiar on other, counties of how they're starting to address those issues too, that have, a really high problem with wildland fire. So, but anyway, I've talked a lot about that. But Dave, is there, can you come up with other things, because you've been through this process from the very beginning? And why don't you pipe in here and talk a little bit more about the process and how all that came about, and what your thoughts are on their concerns and how best to approach those.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Nancy, for letting me speak here. So I think there's a couple of spots. One is, when you were looking at some of these roads and the improvements along them, I think one thing that the plan wants to do is try to avoid places like, in situations like Lahaina, the Palisades fire in California, and close to us and in South County is the Echo Mountain complex, where numerous homes were burnt and people were evacuated out of there. So there's sort of like two parts of this. One is the big picture, which is the improvement of the roads, the identifying of communities that might need more care. And what it really did is creating a ranking within Tillamook County itself, not necessarily compared to, say, Redding, California, or Deschutes County or something else. When it says high in Slab Creek, this is relative to Tillamook County and not a greater place than that. So I just wanted to make sure that was noted there. So Slab Creek is high. If Slab Creek with similar fuels was in, say, Central Oregon with lightning and all the other risks around there, who knows? I don't know what the rating would be with all the trees around it there. But anyway, trying to minimize some of the bigger disasters there. The process did start the contract was led in August of last year. And then in September, the contractor came out and made some site visits. And in your area, he was sort of shepherded around by Chief Ader to all the different areas. And they drove up to like Hawk Creek Hills, the Nescoin, out to Slab Creek. And this is in Chief Ader's. He's the fire chief for the Nescoin or Nestucca Rural Fire
District. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, he went out there and sort of was able to show them, these are some of the areas that I'm concerned about. And then that information, that local knowledge, was combined with the contractor sort of review of like structural pieces there, egress and what type of access you have there, fire hydrants that were available out there, the slot size, the building construction, all of that went into this rating of the homes there and structures and the communities there. So it was a pretty elaborate piece. It wasn't strictly when sometimes we think about fire, it's fuels and how big of what the length of flame length is that comes off that. Flame lengths of 2 feet or less, you might be able to do with like a shovel and an axe, throwing dirt on it. But when you get up to 40 feet or 20 over 14-foot flame lengths, actually, then you need it's very hard to stop, and you have a chance of getting into the trees and things like that. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of go, how it started, and then once they had sort of looked at everything, there was a period of time when they went and the contractor went and worked up these documents and did their fire ratings on individual communities there. And what a community is, maybe that's sometimes of a question. Also, community is a group of people, with sort of like similar characteristics, not necessarily the people that are there, but the housing and where it's located. Like Nescoin is different than Hawk Creek Hills, just because Hawk Creek Hills is, I'd say it's, generally tighter roads up there, harder access. I've driven around up there. Hydrants that may be hard to find and not as spread out as some of the developments that are, say, north of Nescoin, the new developments north of Nescoin, where it's well hydranted. The roads are wide. There's cul-de-sacs with nice turnarounds in there. And so in that view with Chief Ader, they were looking at not necessarily the houses themselves, but also the ability for firefighters to get in there and then protect the house and then get out safely. This year I know there's already been some firefighter fatalities out there, and nobody wants to do that. And as a fire manager of Chief Ader, he has a hard time. Really, there's no justifiable reason to get in there and threaten somebody's life, a firefighter's life, to protecting property potentially. So that's sort of a quick one on how it was formed there. But I wanted to sort of mention a couple things. When you read this document, you're going to read, so there's that big picture, which is egress, how firefighters are going to get in and out, what the fuels are like there, the general structure of the homes and things like that. And I think that's where I want to sort of like just mention a little bit there. When you read the documents, you're going to see something that says Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. I don't know if any of you have seen that in there. So what is Zone 1? What is Zone 2? And what is Zone 3? And that's referring to around your own homes and structures there is how you're going to protect them. And Zone 1 is like the 0 to 5 foot range. That's where the state fire marshal's making a big push to have no basically flammable areas, no flammable things within that 5-foot piece there. Zone 2 is the 5 to 30, and then beyond that, Zone 3 is the 30 to 100 feet. I know many of the structures in Nesco would be hard to go out to 100 feet. You're already into not only the next person's lot, but you're into the next person's lot beyond that sometimes, how these communities were developed there. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew when you read this and you just look at it there. Zone 1 means that 0 to 5 foot next to your structure, Zone 2, 5 to 30, and Zone 3, 30 to 100 feet out. And maybe with that, Nancy, if any questions there about how it was done and where we are now.
Okay, thank you both, Director Thorpe and Dave Wells, for going through that orientation. I do want to just comment on the fireworks area. Yeah, we we did have quite an effort earlier to request added enforcement for fireworks, particularly on this 250th year of our nation's founding. And I think we had, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think we had some success, but we really see this as a long-term project. And Dave, when I spoke with you the first time and mentioned our fireworks concerns, you said, well, this would be a great time for us to provide input then to the plan because that could be pertinent. And that's why we went, oh my gosh, yeah, let's get this meeting together, because if we could actually successfully advocate to have information, have that as a hazard specifically called out in the plan, we think it could make a big difference. And then you had mentioned we might possibly be able to get some grants or something for added enforcement. Might be something that we could think of in future years, but at least if it's listed in the plan as a hazard, which it is, it's our letter that we'll go through here in a moment certainly talks about the risk. And we realize it's true throughout the state to an extent, but people come to the beaches and they bring in illegal fireworks from Idaho and some of these other areas that are like cannons, and these fireworks go on late into the night. It's a war zone. You couldn't just send in 3 or 4 police and expect to do very much unless maybe it's early on. But it's a true war zone. We're right up against the national forest. You all, if we'd realized we were actually designated as very high risk, we knew that, but it's actually in there in writing, that we think that the Nescoin area actually needs additional resources versus other parts of the beaches, even because of the situation we're in with terribly limited egress routes in certain areas of Nescoin, South Beach and up in some of the hills and really down in the village too. So it's a huge concern to us, and we have said for this time being at least that we're going after illegal non-permitted fireworks because there has been a permitted show each year. The Parelos family has put one on. There are a number of people who would like to see a total ban. Lincoln City, right next to us, does have a total ban. And so we're seeing more people coming over to Nescoin because we're right over the hills from there because they have a ban. So it's an increasing problem. It goes on for late into the night and not just on July 4th. It starts a couple of weeks before, it goes weeks after, goes into October. New Year's Eve. It's a continuing problem. And there is a culture of the community that says, we've been doing this for 50 years and it's all right. We need to be able to do that. So there are lots of things, but if we could have something in the plan about that, I think that would be helpful. So thank you. I'm hoping, Director Thorpe, that and Dave, that we could get some more input on how to provide this comment. We're going to go through the letter, but who to address it to. And I like your idea of actually attending a board hearing. I did review the one that you all presented to on July 1st, and we put that link to that in an email blast because it was very interesting to watch that presentation to the Board of County Commissioners. We have not done that in the past to go ourselves. So we'll have to talk with Sarah Absher about that, who's kind of, as you know, our liaison. But we find that this plan really encompasses more than emergency services. It really encompasses land use, permitting process. It encompasses public works related to the roads and mitigation and water issues, et cetera, sewage. So it's quite comprehensive, quite impressive. I mean, I have to say, I was incredibly impressed with how well written it was. I do have some concerns about how it's been laid out for comment. So, because we'd never heard of it. Anyone I've ever talked to hasn't heard of it. And I think Director Thorpe, you said it is really focused more on the fire chiefs and the Forest Service, and that may explain why. But it does affect residents, it does affect property owners in terms of the recommendations that are being made in the plan for permitting, and excellent recommendations. But it's something that, one issue that's been brought up is, how is this going to affect insurance policies? Having a designation like very high wildfire risk, are we going to be able to continue getting home insurance? There are some things that might be, there are other issues around mitigating the homes and that kind of thing that I realize isn't due necessarily going to be affected by the plan itself, but how the county may implement and turn some of this into ordinances. So I think it warrants time and discussion among community members to know that this is out there, that it's still in draft form, and to be able to explain it widely, have it out. So at this point, I mean, people on the Planning Commission didn't know it existed. People in our emergency groups didn't know it existed. It needs to be out there further, I believe, and that's something we'll talk about with the board. If it could be extended, the public comment period extended. I understand in the board meeting presentation to the board, that question was asked, and you all said, yeah, it could be extended. It's flexible. So I guess the contract goes through July 31st, but perhaps that could be extended, because I know the other CACs are going to be interested in this. The other citizen advisory committees are going to be interested in this. So that would be one recommendation. But kind of those two areas, could we add fireworks to the plan, and can we continue this comment period? Because this is rushed. For us to call a meeting this quickly and try to answer for our members, it's very, very rushed. And I don't think the other CACs even know about it. I mean, the South County, Gary, would you like to say anything about the South? I'll put you on the spot. The South County Emergency Management Volunteer Corps.
Well, I haven't talked with the other directors, so I don't know if maybe our president, Dave Sears, whether he was aware of this report. So it just may be my unawareness that's present here. But yeah, I mean, I think we probably would have liked to have been able to see if there's any kind of inputs that we could have had as far as on the mitigation side of it, including things like emergency volunteer groups' response to wildfire emergencies. So.
And the community plan, thank you, Gary. The community plan steering subcommittee has been working on the community plan, which does involve some wildfire work. And Rand, would you like to talk about anything regarding?
Well, I would just say that excuse me, that the things that are in the plan, and I can open that document and share that with you, but I'd like to maybe share those documents with you rather than just say it in the meeting. Those things are meant so that it's clear in our community's perspective that fire safety and safety in general is a high priority, and that the community is pretty active in trying to anticipate and prepare for emergencies, and wildfire is definitely one of the. I live up Slab Creek, and I'm familiar with Chief Ader, excuse me, and he's checked out our bridge, and he has a turnaround, and so we're in communication about that with him. But we're left out of any communications in the Otis fire in 2020. We had no idea whether we should evacuate or not, and the cell tower was down, and we ended up going to the fire hall and asking them to come out with a loudspeaker and go up and down the road and say, you have to evacuate, if we had to evacuate, because there were no communications. So we're not far from Nesquin, but we're like on another planet when things get dire. And a number of us have been on the fire department in previous decades. And so we're aware of how to operate roughly in a fire situation, but we didn't have any idea that any of this was going on, and we would have loved to provide input, and I will share this with other Slab Creekers and let them understand what kind of actions that you suggest and communications that the firefighters need in order to understand if they can go into an area, or if they're just, like we just had the bridge west of us is not rated, so they don't have any fire protection. So a truck would have to come into our area and drive through fields to get to their place. But if all those things are understood, or if all those things are clarified to people, how they need to communicate and what they need to do to prepare, I think it would be better for everyone involved, especially the firefighters who are coming to the situation, to understand the situation they're getting into. Because like you say, you don't want to send people into a bad situation, but you have to know what that is, and requires communication. So the community plan, we can give those written comments to you so that you understand what has already been done. But I think in reading the plan, and I have more to read in the plan, I would really appreciate the extension in time for us to have some meetings with people up the valley, and the CAC, I think, would be a great way to accommodate the comments of people and understand more the give and take in this situation, because it's a very willing community that wants to do the best for each other. And without the knowledge that's in this plan, they kind of are outside the loop.
Thank you. And Director Thorpe, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to clarify a few things. We talked about your emergency groups. I don't know if you're familiar with the TC4 group, which is the group countywide of all of the emergency preparedness groups there, which has got probably 30 to 40 different organizations there that are represented. And they were well aware of this plan from day one a year ago. And they were reminded all the time, and with the public input, they were well aware of that, to take the information back to their communities and spread the word on the public hearings. It was put out on numerous Facebooks. It was put out on numerous web pages. And what I'm finding is that no matter how much we do, we seem that there's a lot of people that still don't get the word out, unless you do handbills on every home. But I can guarantee you, because I was the one that presented it to the TC4 group, every month they're giving them updates on this plan. And so they, that group was fully aware. And like I say, that had all our preparedness groups throughout the county. It had fire department individuals that were there that were aware of it. And so, again, we rely on a lot of other organizations to get the word out to their people. And so, I know that Dave sent out and placed a lot of notices in different businesses about the public comments. We held, I think, 3 of them within the county in those days, and I know that there was quite a bit of publicity put out, like I say, with handbills. Dave can talk more about that, of how much of that went out. But like I say, I just wanted to make sure you knew that the TC4 group, which South County is part of that, knew about this plan.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I'm not familiar with that. What is the acronym?
It's Tillamook County. Oh man,
I've got it open here. It's Tillamook County Citizen Corps Council.
Right, and like I say, it's a group of mainly it's made up of all the different preparedness groups from the Nehalem Bay group clear down to the South County group, and it also includes, the Mean Tarts, Oceanside, a bunch of those other preparedness groups in there. Also members of that are like the Civil Air Patrol. We have news media there that also, again, I know that Laura Swanson did some publicity with this wildlife, with the plan, and also with the public hearings on that. I know that she had it on, I saw it on on her, her web page, and text that she sends out with that. And so she's always there and giving out the information. But there's, like say, we have usually 30 to 35 people attend that meeting, and it's once a month.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. I will say I looked on the county website under the public notices and press releases, and there was nothing about it. About this plan. There is on your department website, there's a page about the development of the plan, which is helpful, but not a link to the plan. So we were able to get that from Dave's email, but the email came out on July 6th, which is after all the public hearings were held. And really, to be fair, the flyer on those hearings sounded more like, fire and ice cream, very cute, and it looked like family emergency wildfire events. And very tiny little letters at the bottom is that this wildfire protection plan would be discussed. But it didn't say public hearing. It didn't say public input wanted, draft plan. It didn't look like something that would be a public hearing for people to provide input on. And there wasn't a link for people to read about it ahead of time. So I think what it would be helpful, and the CACs weren't involved. We're the ones who typically are able to respond to the counties, different issues with the counties. So we would appreciate it, I guess. We'd appreciate the possibility of an extension. I think we have some people here who had wanted to make some comments on the plan itself. But I'm going to share the draft of the letter, which is in the file. And again, this is strictly a draft. Where did it go? Can everybody see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about whether we should send it, how we should edit it, whether we should call another urgent membership meeting before Sunday, which we can do. We can do it within 24 hours notice. But basically, it just says that. And I don't know who to send it to. Director Thorpe, it would be helpful to know, is the signatories that you're going to have that's, at the beginning of the plan that would be signing it, is that who to send it to? Would we send it to the Board of Commissioners? Would we send it to you and the other directors? Would we, or CC, whatever, it would be really helpful for us to know who would it be to the contractors, because the only place I could find to send a comment was on the comment form itself. So again, this is a draft.
And send that to Dave, and Dave can make sure that the people that are doing the contract, there's a couple of different individuals that are actually working on the plan that can take those. So I would address it to right now just to Dave Wells, and he can forward it. I would probably, because if you want your concerns, I would also just address it to the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners also.
Okay, sounds great.
So they're aware of your concerns too with that. But Dave right now is he's been sending up some other comments that have come in and getting those forwarded up to, I think it's Devin is who with Bindle that he's sending them to. So he can make sure that the right people get the comments, and they are waiting for them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Aware of this, and they're waiting for Dave to forward information that is forthcoming from this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically, we have reviewed the draft Tillamook County wildfire, and again, the board is reviewing today for the first time. We have reviewed the draft Tillamook County Wildfire Protection Plan, otherwise known as the CWPP, and are impressed by how comprehensive and detailed it is. It's clear and well written. The plan contains overall strategies for preventing and being prepared to fight wildfires. It breaks mitigation recommendations into detailed areas of interest, otherwise known as AOIs, including 3 for the Nescoin area. The plan includes issues that affect community development, land use. I don't know what that comma is for, that land use area, public works, and emergency management, among others. It will serve as a very useful framework for public and private mitigation and preparation, as well as for obtaining grant monies. We have 2 recommendations regarding the plan: provide more opportunity for public education and input, and add fireworks to the plan as a wildfire hazard and for mitigation strategies. So regarding public input, with that said, we are concerned that the draft plan has not been communicated adequately to residents and property owners who are affected by it. Until we were forwarded a July 6th email regarding the plan and the dates of the public comment period ending this Sunday, we had no knowledge of the plan. Until we publicized the plan within our email list, no one, including community leaders on various boards, had heard about it. The 3 public hearings were in person only and poorly attended, as they were not widely advertised. Recordings are not available on the county website except for the July 1st presentation to the Tillamook County Board of County Commissioners. Board of Commissioners. The comment form appears to be limited to residents rather than including property owners, so it is narrow. The plan also affects property owners, however, yet the planned form doesn't acknowledge this. Some mitigation recommendations that may impact their property includes widening roads. Also, homeowners insurance policies could be affected by the designations of wildfire risk, which, you still have to designate it. We're not arguing that at all, but we're just raising that as a point of interest, I think, for property owners. Per pages 9 and 10 of the main document, the CWPP development process aligns with the goals in the National Cohesive Strategy and offers, this is directly quoting from the plan, and offers prescriptive recommendations based on feedback gathered at the community level. This collaborative planning process assists communities and their individual members in developing an appropriate and desired land fire protection plan to guide future mitigation efforts. Completion of this CWPP involved the following steps: identify stakeholders, land management agencies, and interested parties. We're not sure that the stakeholders included public, property owners and residents. Establish a community planning area, develop a community risk assessment, create opportunities for community input through surveys, public meetings, and a dedicated website. The website's great. It's not publicized very well, but it's great. But I was not aware of any surveys. They may have been held, but I wasn't aware of them. I don't know if anyone else was. Public meetings, again, we had not heard of. Address priorities through stakeholder meetings and public input. Again, we didn't see the public input. Develop an action plan, and then finalize the plan with public comment and community meetings. We urge the plan organizers to extend the public comment period by at least 2 months, publicize it widely, and offer well-advertised community meetings to describe the plan and receive comment. We also ask that the comment form be changed to include non-resident property owners. Going on to fireworks. For Appendix A, pages 82 through 87, the Neskowin area is designated as very high or extreme risk of wildfire, parentheses. This is relative to risk within Tillamook County only, on parentheses. We agree. From the plan, so quote, Neskowin exhibits an overall very high wildfire hazard. Both modeled fire behavior and built environment conditions contribute significantly to the risk profile. Moderate fire behavior potential combined with dense development patterns, inadequate defensible space, and complex access conditions results in elevated exposure to wildfire impacts across the community, unquote. This is us again. Neskowin residents and property owners are increasingly concerned about the potential for large wildfire events occurring in our neighborhoods. Neseko Rural Fire Department District Chief James Ada recently shared his fear of the heightened danger of wildfires in the next year. He based his dire warning on state and federal predictions for hotter and much drier climate conditions in Oregon, including along the coast. Neskowin is enveloped in forest, and the danger of wildfire is present and immediate. There are no rural breaks in the terrain. Chief Ader has recently stated that if a fire starts, there is likely nothing to stop it from burning through to the ocean. Many of the neighborhoods in Neskowin have only one route in and out of their area. Neskowin itself has only the thin lifeline of Highway 101 to enable evacuation. This limited egress makes any wildfire a potentially catastrophic event. Neskowin supplies its own water exclusively from rainfall runoff. In the event of a wildfire, it is not clear that the village of Neskowin has enough water reserves to put up much more than a token resistance. The aftermath of a completely dry water system would only exacerbate the negative impact. Fire prevention is our only hope of survival for people, homes, and our ecosystem. One significant wildfire risk is illegal, non-permitted fireworks. Now we could probably change that to just fireworks. Illegal and unpermitted fireworks turn our community of Neskowin into what many residents and county officials describe as a war zone, including the sheriff, over the 4th of July and at other times of the year. The prevalence of illegal fireworks on Oregon beaches presents unique safety issues not seen in most of the rest of Oregon. Neskowin is a beachfront destination on the edge of a national forest that attracts many visitors over the holidays, some of whom bring unregulated fireworks. In addition, a culture of illegal fireworks, often combined with alcohol, exists and has grown through the decades. Current levels of law enforcement cannot curb this trend. Fireworks that are legal in neighboring states are brought into our community, increasing both their availability and use. The CWPP does not currently include fireworks as a hazard. We urge that the plan be amended to include fireworks as a significant risk of starting wildfires, as well as strategies for mitigating that risk, such as education and increased enforcement, parentheses, in the main document, Appendix B and Appendix D, in parentheses. In conclusion, we congratulate the team for producing an extraordinary and helpful document that should serve to help our community prepare for and prevent wildfires. We ask that, 1, the plan be amended to include fireworks as a significant risk of starting wildfires, and 2, the public comment period be extended by at least 2 months and presentations be made. Thank you for your consideration of this input. So, signed me on behalf of the NCAC. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to discussion. And community members, please feel free to comment, as well, of course, board members, and of course, Director Thorpe and David Wells, you're welcome to as well. When anyone, if you could please put in the chat if you would like to comment, and we can keep everything in order if we're going to have a bunch of comments. So I know Barbara, Triplet, you had indicated you had some comments.
Thank you. I completely agree with the comments that were made in your letter. We were out of town from the 1st of July to the 8th of July, and we had no idea that this meeting in Pacific City was happening. We especially take pride in trying to stay in touch with what's going on in the neighborhood, and we were just taken by surprise that we missed that one, even though we were out of town. But most of the comments that I had were already brought to the table by you and Ran and others. But one thing that struck me as I read the document this morning was that all of the possible exits from the coast were not recognized in this document, and I don't understand why that was. For example, the people that live in Hebo, if they thought their only way out was going up Highway 101, then they're avoiding the fact that Highway 22 goes all the way to Hebo and exits up in Grand Ronde. And so there are some other ways of getting out if other alternatives do not exist. So what I noticed was that there's no mention of Highway 22. There's no mention of Highway 130, which people from Cloverdale and Pacific City and Escalon or Town all can use that in the event that Highway 18 and Highway 101 are blocked. And then, of course, Highway 18, once you get over Cascade Head, is a thoroughfare to get to the valley. And so I think it's important to identify as many possible routes of escape that people can have in the event of an emergency. And I suggest that those be added to the report.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. And Barbara, unless we end up getting an extension and we can get membership approval on something like this, I encourage you to put in something through the public comment form about that, because we don't have that approval for membership like we do with the fireworks.
Right.
So thank you for that. That would be great input for Dave and Director Thorpe. Does anyone else have any comments regarding the letter or the project? Okay, well, hearing no further comments, could I have a motion to approve our sending the letter to the appropriate parties with options for editorial changes as needed?
Yes, I make a motion that what you just said be considered to move forward. I can't repeat it all.
Okay, thank you, Rand.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Is there any discussion on the motion to submit the letter to the appropriate entities, certainly to Dave Wells, the Board of County Commissioners, Director Thorpe, and others as indicated, with editorial changes as deemed necessary, particularly when our editor gets back. Okay.
Is this meant to be a vote of just the executive committee or all attendees to this meeting?
Oh, thank you for asking, Barbara. Yes, this is intended to be a vote just for the executive board because it's a board meeting. However, with that said, if anybody else who is not a board member wishes to comment, please do so now. If anyone objects to this letter or has any changes they'd like to make, please comment now. Okay. So board members, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye here for Alex.
Okay. All those opposed, please say no, which is the more important one. If we have any no's, we're going to a different type of vote. All right. Here, any abstaining? Okay. Hearing none, the motion to publish, to send this letter providing input to the Tillamook Community Wildfire Protection Plan draft with editorial changes is approved unanimously. Okay, thank you all very much for coming on such short notice. Thank you, Director Thorpe and David Wells, for attending today and giving your input. And I just want to say on behalf of the board and our membership how much we appreciate all the work and all the effort that you have put into this plan. It is terrific. What we're saying here would be really helpful. Fireworks are really important to our community, and we feel like it does have a huge risk. Having more time for people like Barbara's comments to be able to be given, I think could make a big difference when when residents and property owners understand have this, and to have these kinds of sessions on video as opposed to in person would be really helpful. But the plan itself, it's extraordinary work. It's very well written. Can't say enough terrific things about it. I encourage everybody to read the whole thing. I mean, it's easily readable, and parts of it don't pertain to our area. So it's not as long as the overall plan looks like. And watch the video of the board meeting. I mean, it really is quite an accomplishment, and we're very fortunate to have the funding. Thank you, Director Thorpe. I have a feeling you were instrumental in going after that funding with the fire marshal. Anyway, terrific job. Really, thank you.
Yeah, Nancy,
Mhm.
maybe just want to make sure that you have my email to send me a copy of that letter, don't you?
I do, and you can actually download it at the moment, but don't do it yet. I mean, you can download, but that's a drafty draft. We're now going to change it as an approved letter, and but it's in our meeting folder right now. Which, when you signed in for the meeting, there was a meeting folder. You can download it from there. But I'll email it to you too. But we're going to convert this now into a more permanent document. Do some editing. Nothing substantive, but editing to clean it up, because frankly, this was done very quickly. And so don't share it at this point. We'll clean it up and get it to you probably in the next day. And I want to follow up with you to get names, to get the right names on the letter and everything too. So thank you. I also want to invite you. We have talked about this, but Director Thorpe and David Wells, we are having a membership meeting in August. We are likely, and we haven't had a chance to discuss this as a board yet, but we're probably changing the meeting date. I'll be sending an email out shortly. We can't talk about it here because it's not agendized, but turns out David told me about this, that our meeting date of August 8th is the only weekend day of the county fair. And we think people may want to go to the county fair, so we may need to change that date. And so we're kind of targeting possibly the tweaks after that, but we'll let you know. But we would love to have, and Alex, would you like to talk about having them coming in as a program? Is Alex still here?
I don't see him on the call anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, Alex and I talked, and he would love it. We all would if you could come in and talk about the plan, whether it's already approved or whether we've been able to succeed in getting the comment period extended. We'd like to have a full meeting of our membership. I think our members will be really interested in this. So at this point, we're looking at the 20th at 1:30. But we'll communicate with you further about that. And Director Thorpe, I think Director Absher had talked with you about the possibility of coming into our December meeting to just talk about emergency preparedness in general. And so we'll follow up with you about that if you're willing to do that.
Well, and the other thing too is that I'll go ahead and make sure that you're put on the TC4 groups too, so you can send a representative on those meetings. And that's also they do have a Zoom or a Teams link for those meetings too. And that's another way that you can keep up on information that's going out throughout the county.
Oh, and that would be terrific. Thank you.
Make sure that all the groups, citizen groups, get put in on that, just so you can sit in and hear what's going on, and then that way you can get that information and then disseminate it to your people too that would have any interest, because they go over a lot of things with emergency preparedness and the like there. And so that would just be another way to gather, more and more of your information that seems to be like you're looking for. So that's just another avenue for you.
Oh, that would be really wonderful. I know that there's some discussion on the role of the CACs going on now. And so I think, we've been more focused on community development, but our charter includes things like public safety and this kind of thing. So that would be great. We're actually looking at potentially setting up a subcommittee or task force to look into those things, that we could designate somebody to attend those meetings. That would be terrific. Thank you so much.
Right. And I'll just use the contact information that's on the community development webpage there for each of the different ones there. And then those individuals can go ahead and send those invites. I'll just put them on that list of when those meetings are and those invites, those calendar invites.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you have my contact information now too. So thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, and we're going to have one next Thursday, so I'll make sure you get that information for next Thursday. So
okay, I will be there. Thank you so much. Well, what time Thursday?
It's 10 to noon. If you're in person, the Bay City offices, but I will send you the video link.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You bet.
And thank you to the board. Thank you to the members who attended today for coming on such short notice and for listening and participating today. I'm calling the meeting. Well, does anyone have any further comments? Okay, I adjourn the meeting at 2:20 p.m. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye. Stop recording. How do I stop recording? There it is. Okay.